nation. You've been giving life. Every teardrop, every smile. Nature's more than butterflies. Carry the world 1,000 times, and I'm hopeful that someday you'll see what I more than worthy of molding a nation. I wanna be shining your crown, more than worthy of making a nation. Take off your crown on most days, but there's a halo there and it's gonna stay. It'll stay, for everything depends on you, woman. You're more than worthy of molding a nation. And you're more than worthy. I wanna be shining your crown. Do you know you're more than worthy? You're more than beautiful, you're more than powerful to me.
I am unstoppable. I am confident. I am limitless.
I am a strong woman. Be proud of you. Be bold. Be brave.
You are enough.
All right, so remember to tell a neighbor, tell a friend to join you and tune in to Edu FM on, well, you're tuning in if you're listening to us right now. But remember, we're available on 99.7 FM in Georgetown and Anai, 89.9 FM in Ituni, Maruka, and Port Kaituma, 98.9 FM in New Amsterdam, and 99.9 FM everywhere else. Also, you can WhatsApp us on 600-8343. That's 600-8343. And even join us on the World Wide Web at edufm. Sorry, that is edu.fm. You can also watch us live on Facebook, on our Facebook page at edufm. You're locked to the Women Empowerment Program, as I said earlier. And we're here for the next 2 hours to share information, to educate, elevate, and empower all of you listening. And we hope you will pass on the information to others as well. Today is all about information.
Yes, the 3 E's we focus on: elevating, educating, and empowering our listeners. Ramona, what did you do this weekend and yesterday? I know you were very busy yesterday and today.
Yes, I'm still busy. I'm working on some training stuff, but what did I do yesterday? I cleaned, girl. Oh my god, I'm tired of being an adult. I clean a lot.
You know, when you were small, you're wishing to grow up to be an adult so you could have money.
Yeah.
And then you realize there's so much more to it than that.
Situation. What did you do, Martina?
On Saturday, I did a tour on the East Coast. I had some business to do as well. We went into the park, we exercised, me, my husband, and the baby. Yeah, she was doing yoga with me. Mm-hmm. We did that on Friday too. And I picked a lot of fruits and I watched the Oscars.
What happened in the Oscars? I don't follow those things. Tell us what happened.
So Rihanna had a really nice outfit, 2 nice outfits, 3 nice outfits, 2 black ones, the one she performed in, the one that she arrived in, and the green one, which was the Oscars after party. Nice maternity, because you know she's pregnant again. Mm-hmm. And she performed her the soundtrack for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Lift Me Up. That was really good for me. Even though she didn't win the Oscars for Best Original Song, that song won the night for me. It was so well done. And what else happened at the Oscars? Jamie Lee Curtis won her first Oscars. I think that was good because she's been doing movies before I was born. So it's about time. She won over my girl, Angela Bassett, but I love them both. I love their movies.
I saw an image with Angela. She looked really good, though.
That purple dress. Yeah. Purple is my color. I love it. She looked really good. And then also, you know who made history? Michelle Yeoh. She's a Malaysian actress and the first ever to win Best Actress for her role in everything everywhere all at once. I haven't seen it as yet, but I've heard, rave reviews about it, and I plan to look at it. But really good, empowering stuff for these leading actresses winning and getting the Oscars after such a long time. Because Jamie Lee Curtis, she's been around since like I'll Be Back, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's a really long time indeed.
Yes. And so for her to win her first Oscars, that's good. I think it's a
Like,
win for
about
her
time.
entire family. Yeah, it's about time because, her parents actually were nominated before, but they never won. So this is a win for her. There was some great stuff with the guys too, but tonight is for the women. Yeah, that's where I spent my weekend. It was really, really good. And my daughter is on a new journey where she's talking a lot more now, and I'm realizing that I'm no longer the boss.
Yeah, girl. I have
She's now
conceded
my
a long
boss.
time ago.
She's 2.
I know. Mine is 4, and he's rationalizing with me earlier.
I saw your Facebook post.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, this
wow,
child-
Jonathan.
So his teacher said he did. Oh my gosh, should I out him here? Oh my gosh. So his teacher said he did great on an assessment. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you, right? And he was like, oh, thanks, mom. He called 2 students in the class, and they laid on the ground and called out the answers. And I'm like, okay, so you cheated? And he was like, no, mom, I didn't cheat. They called out the answers. I just repeated it. So yeah, he didn't
Oh
cheat.
my goodness.
So I said I congratulated him on his listening abilities. And he said, yes, thank you. It was a hard day. He's 4, mind you. He's
I
4.
know. But, it's a joy looking at them and listening to them because, so today we were at the passport office and Victoria said she was thirsty. I had left her school bag in the car and she's like, Mom, I'm thirsty. I'd like some water. Somebody came in at the same time pushing a cart selling coconut water. I assessed it. I'm like, okay, it looks clean. We'll buy the coconut water. I bought it. I opened it. I give her to taste and she's like, I want real water. Not that.
How
Or
dare you give her
juice.
fake water.
Yeah, it's fake
Yeah.
water. But yeah, man, I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the way she rationalizes and would have discussions with us. But you know what? We're talking so much and it's good to be back after a whole week. It's time for us to take a quick music break and then we're going to come back with our program and what we have for you tonight. Our guest is already here looking gorgeous in blue. You'll know who that is shortly. So let's take a quick break.
I'm very pleased to join you today as the Women Chamber of Commerce hosts yet another Women and Girls Summit. I wished I could be there with you in person, but nevertheless, I have been asked to share many of the programs and policies offered by the Ministry of Human Services as it relates to the empowerment of women and girls. And notably, this year's theme focuses on digital technology. It also reminds us that we have much work to do when it comes to ensuring that our women and girls utilize the multiple opportunities that abound and exist across our country. In fact, I think within the last 2 years, there would have been a number of key areas that the government of Guyana would have invested in, notably in education, to ensure that wherever they were, people had opportunities to elevate and empower themselves academically and also through the acquisition of technical vocational skills. Everyone is fully aware of the GOAL program, which is the Guyana Online Learning Academy. And this is an important program because right away it puts in the hands of young people, including girls, the opportunity to access universities across the world and to upskill and upgrade their academic performances when it comes to moving into the realm of academia to acquire their master's, their bachelor's degree, their undergraduate degrees, their postgraduate degrees. The GOAL program is not only accessible, but I think the beauty of this program is that it brings thousands of scholarships, which means it's absolutely free. And any young person who is desirous of getting into the GOAL program can do so directly if they have the academic requirements, or they can do the preliminary course, which puts them on firm footing and an equal play field so that they can also access a program of their choice. Guyana also invested in the GROW program, and here again it speaks to a target population, one which is close to my heart because I have often seen on the faces of young people when they come for an interview or even read when they wrote a CV that, experience is required. And most times, like any one of us, our first job would have brought that experience. But prior to that, we didn't have any. In fact, we were quite not prepared in many ways for the real world of work. So the GROW program, here again, puts...
Archer, well, actually, do we want to go right into Miss Archer? Should we take another music break?
No, let's go right into it.
All right.
We'll take another music break when we get to 6:30 p.m.
All right. So, Mrs. Archer will be aiding to our aim, which is to educate, elevate, and empower, but our consumers this time, not just women and girls, our consumers. All right. So, Martina.
So, as we introduced her, an educator, I would call her, on consumer rights, because this is what the department does. And this is particularly for the tourism sector, the tourism department. So, Kushana, what is the purpose of the department generally? Like, what's the mandate that you were given?
First off, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I must say that I am one of those persons who did not know that we had EduFM.
We aim to educate.
But that's probably my fault. Being as I read more than I watch TV.
Go back and spread the word.
And listen to radio. Yeah.
I'm more for a good book. Well, the mandate of the ministry is to give policy guidelines and to enact legislation that will attempt to minimize the conflicts and issues that consumers face in their day-to-day lives. Our aim at the Department of Consumer Affairs is to bring consumer awareness and education to all consumers throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful nation. And we do this with the support of our sister agencies, the Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission and the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, with the Consumer Affairs Act 2011. Now that act is the base with which we give all of our education. We also, throughout the year, tap into a theme that is given to us by a general consumer body known as Consumer International This year, they've decided that they're going to send the theme into a direction that we as a nation, we're now verging into, and that is clean energy. So this year, the theme is embracing clean energy transitions. So this is some of the things that we are going to be doing in the department to bring education to consumers. Oftentimes people forget that it's the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. So we in the industry and commerce part, we're like the little small children. We fight, our way to see.
To be seen.
Yes. Tourism is such a big and bold big brother.
Forefront. Yeah.
Yes.
So we lend support to all these different initiatives.
So what are some of my rights as a consumer?
Well, you have, according to Consumer International, we have 8 basic consumer rights. And it's important for us to understand that these 8 basic consumer rights are not just for Guyanese. We didn't craft it here in Guyana. These 8 basic consumer rights are rights that are enshrined in constitutions around the world. Fortunately for us, we have legislation in place. There are several member states of CARICOM that don't have legislation in place, but we're fortunate to have that. And people find that very strange. How you mean to have legislation? Yeah, there's a law that protects you as a consumer. Your first consumer right is the right to basic needs. Everybody know what their basic needs are. You have the right to food, clothing, and shelter. And everything else is an added bonus. I usually, when I do school lectures, tell the students that the food, clothing, and shelter does not decide what kind of food, clothing, and shelter you have the right to. You just have the right to your basic needs. You have the right to safety. That if you use a product, it should not cause you harm. You should be able to use that product according to the rules that the product is
Specified.
Exactly. You should be able to use that and it should not cause you harm. You have the right to information. Oftentimes, persons will complain that they did not know the thing was going to do what it was going to do. And because you didn't read the instructions. And I know my female listeners, we get down in the manual and we follow the instructions. I've done a rough survey. It was very rough. That men are not really up on the reading of the manual. And this survey was done with my husband, 3 brothers, and a father. Out of the 5, none of them read the manual. So, but you have the right to information. You have the right to choose. You should be able to choose from a different varieties and types of products. For example, the ladies here in this room, we all have a different style. We all like different colors. So you should be able to choose from a variety of things.
We all like classy stuff. I'm looking at these jackets and suits, and I'm like,
Yes, that white jacket is calling my name. Unfortunately, I'm not the person to wear white. Dirt just looks at me and leaps onto me in a white outfit. You have the right to be heard, and this is where the CCAC comes in. If there is an issue with a product or service that you've accessed, the CCAC will use the legislation that we have in place to give you redress, and that is your next right, the right to redress. You have the right, if something happens to a product and service that you buy, the law will now kick in so that you will be able to get one of 3 things. A repair, they can repair, replace, or give you a full refund of whatever is the item that you bought. I like to give this example because it's important for us to understand that redress does not mean that you can just go into the store and behave indecent. Do not, if something happens to the phone, you understand me, do not take that one friend that have an attitude that will go into the store and behave indecent in the people place.
as we say
That
in
would
Guyana,
be me. Do not
bees
take
out.
that friend. You understand me? You need to be calm. You need to go to the store and express what your concerns are and give them an opportunity to fix it.
In a rational manner.
Exactly. If, for some reason, they are irrational, you need to be rational and then contact the CCAC. You have the right to consumer education, and that is why I'm so glad I'm on this program here today, so that you will have all the facts and are armed with all the tools that you need, that when you're going out there and you're purchasing, and as women, we we do the most of the purchasing.
Yes.
Sometimes to our own detriment. There are a few things in my house right now that my husband could attest to that I really didn't need. But they're in there. They're in there. I mean, I bought them, and
It's not your husband alone could attest
they're-
to it. You
yeah.
know it.
Lies. Finally, you have the right to a healthy environment, and that is important because our health is important. So a healthy environment will mean that we will now be healthy enough to continue to do healthy practices. We'll be able to dispose of our waste in a better manner. We should not, at this point, you should not just be shopping just because, you know. If we are to keep up with the trends, because in this room we have everybody got a different cell phone. If you were to keep up with the trends, you would have a new mobile device every year.
That's true.
Because the iPhone 13 came out was last year. Now
And
they
the
have the 14.
Yeah.
Samsung at 23 or 24. I mean, what are we doing, you know, with as consumers to ensure that sustainability of our environment is paramount?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me put forward a scenario for you. If I buy an electrical item, is it a requirement? Is it compulsory for me to pay for a warranty for that item?
If you want the extended warranty,
Okay, so tell me about
they
that.
coined it in such a way that it says extended warranty.
Okay.
The basic warranty period, we at the Ministry of Tourism and CCAC, the law says it should be 6 months. And this is if they have not given you a written warranty.
Okay.
It should be 6 months.
So hold on a minute. The written warranty could be less than 6 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Didn't
If
know
you've
that.
accepted a warranty that is written and you've signed and said that you have accepted this warranty of 2 days, that is the warranty that is under the law. That is the warranty you have
But
to
it is
accept.
said to me that the warranty is 2 days. I don't have it in writing, but they said it to me.
Yeah, then the 6 month warranty kicks in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's some of the things that I've been doing this job for 12 years. And these are some of the things we've trying to get consumers to understand. Stop signing things. Have you not read it?
Oh my God.
Stop that.
This is everybody's problem indeed.
You understand me? Stop
Read.
it immediately now.
Could be
Let's
signing
say,
over
for
your
example,
life.
okay, let's extend the scenario. You have just spent, you know, those I want so desperately, the new stainless steel fridge with the double door and the door at the bottom that makes the ice. I have priced it maximum 500 and something thousand. Right? Now, this is going to be a conversation with me and the husband about if, you know, we be able to do this.
I
Now,
hope the husband's
imagine
listening.
me. No, he's not. Thank God for Jesus. Imagine me now buying that item and walking out the store with the warranty document, having never read it, and the warranty document says 72 hours. After you've just spent $500,000.
Yep.
That
I
is,
think it's
to
a
me,
need
that
for
is
speed.
crazy.
It's because we have this tendency to want everything to be done fast.
Yeah, I understand that.
Reading it, and it's fine print, and it's about 100 pages.
Yeah, and it's in formal language.
Yeah.
So,
Here what
yeah.
you got to do. In that moment,
It's not written for the ordinary man.
in that moment,
Exactly.
ask them a few things. Could you point out where the warranty is? They should be able to tell you because the document is theirs. When they point that out, you read it. Read the paragraph above it and the paragraph below it, just in case they sneak no other terms into
And
it.
conditions, yeah.
Exactly. You might not want to read the entire document. Also, God has blessed women with the sixth sense. We have that intuition. If you're in the store, you get the vibe that this
Something shady here.
you could come back the next day. Trust me, that ain't going nowhere. It's
Yeah.
not the last one.
Yes.
They got another one upstairs in the back. Or there's another store that will give you better after sale service. But if you have accepted a written warranty, that is the warranty you have to go with. If for some reason they've asked you now, because the stores will try to upsell you, and you're confident that the item that you bought is so much money, you want the guarantees for as long as possible. That is another conversation altogether. If you're not confident, you're not comfortable with an extended warranty, again, it is your money. Take that, shop that money around to another store. You may be able to find another store that will give you a longer warranty period without having to pay for an extended warranty.
Understood. Well, okay, so it's not a requirement that you must pay for the extended warranty. I know there's one consumer store I've gone to where they just give you the extended warranty and they bill you for it without a conversation. If you're not paying attention, you'll end up with a 3-year warranty that adds about 10% to the value of the item without you recognizing, hey, this is what happened.
Exactly.
I think that they should let you know that they're giving you the extended warranty and at least advise you what it means and what you can bring back or not bring back.
But in that regard, there are a lot of employees within these stores that don't know what's happening in that regard. They're
Exactly.
very much
we've
uninformed.
we've seen that a lot because you've
And
gone
the turnover
into,
in those
the
stores,
stores
is
are very
is
high.
very high.
Are very high. But that's my thing is the onus is on you, the consumer, to do due diligence, do your research.
You
I mean,
see-
have even if look, and I understand that it's two-pronged. Both
Yes.
parties should be responsible for disseminating the information, but you need to ask probing questions. You need to ask probing questions, and if you realize that your questions aren't being answered by the sales clerk, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I
Ask for a
understand that
manager.
you don't understand. May I speak to the manager?
Yeah.
If you're having a conversation with that manager, and that manager is one condescending, that manager is rude, that manager is ill-informed about your and does not take your concerns seriously,
Don't
shop
buy the product,
your
shop
money
elsewhere.
to another store. We need to stop accepting mediocre treatment and say, it's Guyana.
Yes.
Because you know
We're
what?
enabling it.
It leads into the next question where what if something goes wrong? The same condescending, rude manager, what do you expect when you have a complaint to lodge?
They're going to
So-
be rude and condescending.
So now it has reached out of the hands of the store and you want to lodge a complaint with the Consumer Affairs. What's the process of doing that?
Okay, so the CCAC, they're very good with consumer complaints. There's 3 ways. So they have a website. It's ccac.gov.gy. And on that website, there is a complaint form. You fill up the form, and they will call you, and their investigators will investigate. They have investigators. They have experts in the different fields that they will, do the investigation. 2, you can call them at 219-4411. They will take your information over the phone and start the process of the investigation.
So that number to
It's-
file your complaint is
it's
219-4411
11.
to 194411.
That is correct.
I know the online one that you mentioned, there's also a section where, and I'd encourage people to do this, when something goes wrong with the item, the product, the service, take pictures, because there's a section
Yes.
for you to upload photos.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so
And you can take yourself to the Sapphire Exhibition Center.
the Sapphire Exhibition Center is
And
where the unit is.
Where the unit is.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you go there and they're very good about, taking your complaint and so on. But one of the things that I want people to understand is that when you're going or you're filing a complaint, have all the facts.
Yes.
Have
It's
all
like
the
you have
facts.
to write a whole police report.
Yes,
style.
yeah.
I've been there.
Have all the facts. You understand me? And the beautiful thing that they will give you in the store, which is a receipt, have that.
Yeah.
But
It is
Is
important.
that compulsory? Because
It is not
I'm-
compulsory, but we strongly
Advise that you
in
have
Advise.
the case, okay.
But you
the
see,
level of strong. I can't stress.
some stores don't give you receipts.
and
that
you're
too.
giving them your money. I'm confused.
Some stores don't give receipts. I even asked for receipts at the gas station.
Give me the receipt. It is my money.
In addition to that, there are some things like I engaged the Consumer Affairs Division about 2 years ago when we were building our home, and the contractor was putting in the cupboards, and our agreement was for A, but he gave us something of less value in terms of the wood and the materials, smaller in size, and I called the division. I was directed to the site. I had to show photos, show the agreement that we had, our WhatsApp discussion when I started asking questions about the cupboards that he did. And when he installed it, they were damaged. Like he was nailing it in instead of screwing it in, and there was chips. And I said, I don't want it. I don't want it repaired.
No. At that point, you're clearly incompetent.
I don't want it. And we went through a process. And then I went to the exhibition center. There was evidence questioning, like it's the police. And then we came to an agreement on settling the whole matter. But the first step is trying to reach an amicable solution before you say, okay, we can go to court or we don't want it.
Exactly.
So our thing was he replaced the item to meet the specifications that we wanted. And of course, we terminated him after that.
The beautiful thing about some of the things that you were talking about is that you had an agreement. That's one.
Yes.
That means you had something written.
A form of a contract.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm confused as to why you would spend $8, $9, $10 million to build a home and do not have a contractual agreement. That clearly states what type of wood, what grain, what type of everything. It should be clear. Even if you're not savvy technologically to type it, you write it out, because this is a conversation. In the conversation we're having, I want pink walls. I want the walls to be 10 feet. I want the walls to have, drywall and whatever. You say that, he tells you how much it's going to cost, the length of time it's going to take to get done, all the things, and you write it down.
Or even possibly record it.
But sometimes
that's
why we use
evidence.
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
We WhatsApp, and that's where I keep the record of it.
Yeah, because you could print WhatsApp out.
Yes, but sometimes you have an agreement to do A, but as the work continues, you want to deviate and amend, and you don't have a contract.
Amend that
Make
agreement.
sure you put it in a WhatsApp message, because that is evidence as well that can be used. But when we come back, we're going to have a more thorough discussion on the process of complaints and what information you need to look for. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in 3 minutes.
You know the bed feels warmer. Sleeping.
of work. So the GROW program, here again, puts easily into the hands of young people, whether they would have been dropouts from school or they would like to continue their academic journey, to place them in a position to move to higher forms of education. The GROW program provides that initiative so that young people, if they missed a few subjects, they can catch up. If they need extra help to put them into position for applying for jobs and to gain a little bit of experience, they can do so. But the program that I'd really like to share on that speaks primarily to women and girls is the program that came from the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. In 2020, a simple cottage industry was piloted. Here, we looked at the needs of the country, focusing on the COVID-19 pandemic and that people needed to have masks across the country. Globally, there was a shortage, so the cottage industry was born from the efforts of women right across the country, making those masks and being able to sell them, which meant that it brought income, disposable income, at their doorstep. From that, women realized very easily, because we not only let them do that, but we started to train them in business literacy and to empower them by providing access to various forms of technical vocational training from that interface of providing the opportunity to make these masks. Women took the opportunity. And very quickly, they realized that they could move from being homemakers, from being people who were not in the labor market, people who were not in the workforce, people who were not earning, into persons who can have the opportunity to elevate themselves financially. And there, WIN was born. The acronym stands for Women's Innovation Investment Network, and it was one of the flagship programs of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. What was the thought behind the conceptualization of this program? Well, I thought, what prevents women from accessing all the programs that existed? It was, one, the lack of confidence, and two, they felt that if they didn't have the academic requirement, these opportunities were not there for them. And I wanted to say to them very clearly, whether you were a teenager in your late teens, leaving school, and you're not quite sure what you wanted to do, or maybe you didn't quite get the requisite grades to get you into a job that you wanted, or into an academic program that you wanted to participate in, or maybe you were in your later years and you missed out on the opportunity of formal education, maybe you left school, would it have been the end of the world for you? The answer was WIN. So,
Shauna R. Archer, the Senior Consumer Affairs Officer attached to the Department of Consumer Affairs within the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. She's been here educating us about our rights as a consumer, and I must say I've been learning a lot. I need to be very careful with how I spend my money.
And when you're amending your contracts, make sure you have something in writing, because you will never, ever, ever, recover. And when I say you'll never recover, trust me, it's still on my mind what that contractor did to me. But it has made me a lot more cautious and observant. And we're currently doing another project now and looking at everything with an eagle's eye. But so now tell me, how does the department work with businesses and industries to ensure that they are complying with the consumer protection laws and regulations?
So it's important for us to understand that the legislation is not just for consumers. In the legislation, there's a section that says duties of the supplier.
Good.
What we want the suppliers and businesses to know is that if you put these steps in place, then you've shored up your business. People will be more likely to shop at your establishment if they know for a fact that if something happens to that product or service, you're going to take care of them.
That they have rights.
Exactly. Exactly. So also the CCAC, they are actively doing business inspections. They've even, last year we had a program to a Better Business Awards program where they awarded businesses that were best in consumer protection, and we didn't award them. People had to vote. Guyanese had to vote they were nominated, and then we put the survey out on Facebook, and Guyanese had to vote, which is the best car dealership, which is the best place to buy electronics, and that kind of thing. But we want businesses to use the legislation as armor. Take the legislation, make sure that you understand. So because it might not be something that you did. It might be an issue with the product. But if you have these things in place, you'll be able to quickly address the issue. You cannot have a system in place. And that is one of the things that have been failing businesses in Guyana. They hide their head in the sand as it pertains to this legislation. And then when we have to now go and investigate, you're upset that, this has come about. But if you're diligent, you do a few things. You make sure you have a warranty document. You make sure that you give receipts. You ensure that you do not have signs up in your businesses that says goods
No
are
return.
not returned. No returns, no refunds. You give consumers all the facts that they need when they're buying something. Again, prime example, I always use myself as an example with the fridge again. It produces ice and water and all the rest of it. I went into the store and I was asking, then the man somebody else in the store, not the person who was working, he said, I have one, but these are the things you're going to need to do. If you want to bring it in your home, you're going to have these other things. And I was confused as to why would you not tell me that? I bought myself a dryer because I'm a woman of a particular age. I'm not hanging out clothes. I've done enough hanging out clothes. As the only girl in my home, I have hung out enough clothes. So I was like, you know what? I'm buying myself a dryer. Went into the store. The man and I had a conversation about the dryer. I said, I want $240. I want a $240 dryer. I want it to be this color and this brand. Because it has to match the washing machine I have in my house. It's all about the aesthetics.
Yes.
Okay, we go up to the thing. And so I'm like, you know what? My years of experience kicked in. I said, is there anything I will need to buy to ensure that when this dryer goes into my home,
It can work.
it can work? And there is where the light bulb in the man's eyes, I saw it click in right to me. He was like, this woman knows what she's doing. Because sometimes it's not even about them not knowing what to say to you. Sometimes it's because of your gender.
And sometimes they forget.
You think you're uninformed.
You're
You're uninformed. She don't know.
She don't know what she's doing. So, I'm going to get a nice commission off of this sale.
Yeah.
Kicked in right there. He said you may have to have an electrician come and see if your house can support this
But that's
dryer.
a big thing to not tell
Why would
somebody.
you not tell me that right off the bat?
Wow. You know what? That exact thing happened to us when we bought our dryer. You needed to have 3-phase electricity.
How was I supposed to
We
know
didn't
that?
know anything about that. So and it's
And
an
it's a switch, and it's expensive.
very. So we went through what you went through, but the house that we got, we just done all these nice things with the house, build and this and that. And the area does not have 3-phase electricity.
There you go.
We're on the East Coast, so we have
Wait,
this
you had already bought your dryer?
beautiful dryer that
There
the
you go.
electrician came. So we didn't know that the area had to have it. We thought it was everywhere in Ghana.
No.
Electricity is
Mm-mm,
normal.
no.
So the area where we have our home does not have 3-phase electricity. So we wanted to take back the dryer. They're like, but you signed a warranty that says you're aware that you need 3-phase current and you're going to get an electrician to install it and you're going to buy these parts to make it work. So we can't bring it back.
Yep. Right there. Right there. The transaction didn't go forward.
Wow.
My card had not been handed over as yet.
You
And
see,
you didn't sign the document?
I did not sign a document.
Listeners,
I right away called my electrician.
I
said,
want
am
you
in
to
the
know
store.
this. Yeah.
And this is what he said. And my electrician was like, I just wired your house. I know you're getting
3-phase.
the 3-phase because I have it's an old house, but we had new wiring. GPL came and
And it
run
depends on the
new-
community.
Yeah, I'm in Northeast, so
Good, so
it's-
you have
it's-
it.
It's,
Yes,
it's, this
town and that area has
is
it.
old. So
Yeah.
he was like, I just came and rewired so I know you can have it. I was like, good. My electrician said it's golden. We can get it done. Then I said, okay, what else do I need? You needed a hose
Yes.
to connect
You got to buy the hose. You got to buy the
Oh,
plug
wow.
head.
from the
You have to
back
buy the
of the
adapter for the
dryer
wall.
to
Yes.
go so that heat could go outside.
Yes.
I am like,
It's a vent release.
You know.
Something foil
put it
like.
on a little paper on the dryer.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when I'm reading how much it costs, and I'm reading
But it's all
about
about the
the
sale.
warranty,
And you
and I'm
have
reading
to
about
pay
all
your,
of that,
you have to pay your electrician to install
$50,000.
it. I know.
$50,000.
And $20,000 for the adapter, and then
The
the
thing-
hose
And
cost like another $5,000. Consumers, listen.
I am telling
This
you,
is such an important conversation because had we not gotten a home and trying to install these things,
You'd
we
never
would
know.
not have known. And when we engaged GPA, our electrician said, yeah, we can do something and make this work and buy 2 stabilizers with this power and whatnot. And we could, I'm like, we're not doing them shortcuts. We're not burning down the house. We just buy it.
I know,
No.
right?
So we engaged GPL. They came. They on the phone. They said, "Yeah, we could set it up." But when they came, they're like, "No, your area doesn't have 3-phase, and we're not rewiring this community right now."
Exactly.
there was no communication with the GPL team and another team. And so for 3 weeks, every week, a different team from GPL was calling us to go check it out to see what they can
And
do.
tell you the same
But
thing.
at the end of the day, we just end up going to another house.
You
telling
switch
you.
out
that
you
area,
switch out the whole house
No,
for
because
this dryer.
at some point,
Every
at
single
some point,
appliance
you're
in the
gonna
house had to be
exactly,
changed.
Exactly. Who does that?
it was way too much headache.
Then
Check
I am, as I said, I'm a Lindener. Us Lindeners, we know about electric stove.
Yes.
Because when I came down to town, I was introduced to the
Yes.
gas stove scenario. Me too. It's not my ministry. I'm not
Anyway,
not that guy. That's not my ministry.
my dad still uses an electric stove in town. All right. So, what advice would you give consumers based on the conversation that we just had? What advice would you give consumers who want to protect themselves from scams, fraudulent business operations and practices, and as
And
well
omitted information.
omitting
like this.
information?
Do your research. We live in the most beautiful time, the information age. Everything you can find online. You can even go to YouTube and find the exact thing that you want to buy,
That's
and
true.
somebody tells you how to do the installation.
That's true. That's true.
It is important.
Don't do the installation.
No,
of
no, don't do it
electricity
yourself. It is important that you come armed with all the facts. Come
Yeah.
armed with all the facts and shop around. One of the things that I also tell consumers, do not buy anything in a rush. It cannot be that desperate. I could understand that, look, something breaks down in your house and you might need to replace that thing, but you could live without it for 48
I
hours.
feel like she's talking to me. But
You can let it set in your spirit.
Yeah,
And don't buy for now, buy for the future. Think about how long
no, that's
that
not good for
thing
me.
is going to last. Yeah, you understand me?
yeah.
For appliances, the general rule is 3 to 5 years. So
By
don't buy
quality.
the most trending thing now, and then the trend
By
change,
quality.
and you decide I don't want this thing anymore. You understand me?
Yeah.
3 to 5 years for major appliances. If you want to buy something that is, in and catchy and so on, be prepared to have to deal with changing that thing in a few years. Durable goods should last 3 to 5 years. If you care it, if you're concerned, also do not buy something that when you take it home, it cannot fit the space for which it
So
was
measure your
intended.
space first.
Again, prime example, I wanted a new chair set. As I said, I live in an older
Just move around.
home.
Everything else is too different.
No. I live in an older home. The doors.
Oh.
Oh, they're not the wider
Yeah,
width
pull it up
for
the
now.
veranda.
I live in an older home. The people came with the chair set. They know the good ones with the round
Yeah.
arm. Beautiful chair set. They had to take off the door.
Oh my
They had to
god.
take off the frame. Let me tell you how I shaped. Let me tell you how I was
I've
ashamed.
been there. We had to bring it up the veranda because
No,
I
you know
was
what?
ashamed
When you
because
talk-
I did not do diligence and just get a tape measure in the store and measure the space.
Because you thought it's obvious, right? And that's the other thing. Doing construction to an older home. We were remodeling and renovating a house. And we always did something with a house, right? And it was an older home. And the cement blocks were 4-inch, but I think they're doing them 6
6
inch
inches
now.
now, yeah.
So when we were filling in a doorway and a window to remodel this whole wall to make it like a back wall, and
You're
the men putting in the 4-inch and the 6 inch, like, why this wall? Why this thing protruding so? This is not good work. They're like, blocks don't come in 4-inch anymore.
Yeah.
So this ugly protruding, I'm like, here, make a design out of it and just make it look nice. Just do something with it and make it look nice. Because this was a bulge that I could not live with.
Yeah.
I'm still living with it.
Exactly. And that's some of the
designed.
things you gotta think about. Also, think about how everything in my life is going to be impacted by having this thing. You might need to pay more electricity. You gotta think about that.
Yeah.
You might need to train the people in your house to use the thing properly. You're gonna need to think about that. You might be able to say, "Oh, I want it," because we women, we see it, we're like, "Oh, it's so beautiful. I want it in my
That's
house. I
true.
need it in my life."
That's true. That's very true.
You understand me? But think about that might be a bump in electricity. Think about you may need to change something structurally in your home to accommodate that thing.
Your budget will increase because you might be paying courts every month.
All of
Then
that.
is it an asset now or is it a liability?
Exactly. When it was coming in your house, you had the stars in your eyes.
Yes.
After the first month, you realize that this is.
I couldn't do
is
without
not,
it, you know.
Yeah. I wanted AC, and I bought the wrong AC. I didn't buy the AC with the inverter and the thing.
Oh,
My light bill went up by 100% that month. My husband looked at me, he plug out the AC.
I will send you and the AC back to the store.
The man plug out the AC. He put it downstairs in the storage. He said, sweetheart, you going to swear with a fan until we could afford to buy the AC with the inverter and so on. Let me tell you how my face long. Long. Because this was during COVID, so we were home in the heat. Long. I said, but I can pay the difference. He said, no, you're not. You pay any light bill in here? You don't pay no light bill, you don't pay no water bill. You pay with difference.
Oh my
Man, I would
God.
think I was look at it fondly.
What could have been?
So suppose, right? You talked about reading the warranty document and anything that we're signing, but I've had instances where I would have conversations with the employee that is helping me, and you know they would tell me one thing, but maybe me, you know, read the thing and just sign it, right? And then, like, what happens there? I mean, I was obviously told misleading information, but then there's no proof of that.
We have to prove that you were told misleading information. The minute you put your John Hancock on a paper and says that I sign here and I agree to that is
Everything
legally binding.
Yes, everything else that was
The
said.
CCS will now have to prove that the person selling you the item had malicious intent. Malicious intent is a very difficult thing. And in the road to proving malicious intent, you're frustrated. The person is frustrated. The situation escalates to the point nobody wants it to go to. So before we climb this hurdle, let's, on the
Prevention
onset,
is cure, right?
always, my grandmother always said that prevention is better than cure.
So here, a contractor messaged me and said, yes, they're still making 4-inch blocks. Not everybody making them, but yes, they still make them. 6-inch blocks are mainly used for the foundation for the floor, and 4-inch blocks are used for the walls of the houses. So my contractor shafted me. And he just went and buy 6-inch blocks for everything.
There you go. There you Let me tell you,
That's why he got fired.
I am telling you,
This is
they're
years
out
old
there.
story we bring it up now.
They're just waiting to just seek you out. You have to be the one to just be ready. So as they say something, give me a minute. Don't let them rush you. Nobody's rushing you. It's your money. Give me a minute if you're not, because look, we're here, we're probably confident, we could be able to, handle ours. But if you're not, just give me a minute.
Call somebody.
If I got to call somebody, there are times my brother he is studying to be an architect. And he did computer science. So there are times I'll be like, hold on. I get on the WhatsApp. He's in the Middle East. He will answer the phone. What is it? And I tell him what is it. He's like, no, this is what you need to do. You understand me? Or take somebody who's knowledgeable to the store with you. If you're buying a car, take the mechanic.
With you.
Yeah.
You
I
buy
don't
a
buy
car,
any
take the-
second-hand car. I don't deal with.
Take the mechanic.
I mean, well, all the cars we get here are secondhand, technically. But I get where you're coming
Yeah.
from. But I agree.
They're
I agree.
remodeled and things. But
Let them drive it around and tell you what is going on with it. They would hear. My big brother's a mechanic. He just hear it driving like, oh, that guy got a problem. You understand me?
Yes.
And that is some of the things we want consumers to understand. You have the right to gather all the information the first time.
So how does your department keep up with the trends and the everything? Well, everything changes, and then they come up with new ways to trick the system, so to speak. So how do you guys keep track of all of this?
I am the social media liaison.
Oh, so
this is
you're
your
on the
response,
social
see?
media tracking
So
everything.
I am always online. There is a portal that the CARICOM CSME unit has set up. It's known as CAREX. That portal
Is
is
it
used
CARECS or CAREX?
CARREX. It stands for
Okay.
a system for rapid alerts for dangerous non-food items.
Wow.
So it's non-food. Now this portal was set up so that member states can send information to the portal that other member states can see if an item is fraudulent and if it's been recalled. So we are now in the process of populating the portal. And that is going to be one of the things that's going to help us to identify issues. Because if something happens in Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, 9 times out of 10,
Guyana will be affected.
exactly. So and the consumer advocates in those areas, we have meetings quarterly to discuss matters pertaining to consumer protection in the territories. And this is how we get some of the information. Also, recalls are public. If there's a recall for something, there was a recall for formula, baby formula, that recall is public. So you have that information. And finally, the department is logged. We have aligned ourselves with Consumer International. This organization is has membership of more than 120 countries. So they're on the cusp of all the information. So just like how you have to do research, we do research. We do surveys. We have a research team that will go out and capture data on different topics. And
Basically, going on the cover.
I mean, on the cover is such a strong.
You're researching for the benefit of your consumers.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Mrs. Archer, or Kashana, it's now the top of the hour, and it brings us to the end of this segment on consumer affairs. But we would really like to have you another time,
Yep.
because there's so much more that we can talk about. Time doesn't permit us to do all of that today, but we want to thank you so much for sharing all this information and for having such a lively conversation.
I like
She
to
came
talk.
ready.
I like to
Yes.
talk.
Came ready.
And
She-
I
I
talk
was-
a lot.
didn't have
Did
to
you
think.
not tell me that you're shy?
Never. That
Oh.
nobody
All
who has ever met me would ever say that. I have been outspoken and outgoing since the moment the words came out of my mouth.
All right, great. So we're still in studio here with our guest, our first guest for the Women Empowerment Program tonight. That is Mrs. Kashana Archer. She is the Senior Consumer Affairs Officer in the Department of Consumer Affairs, and she is attached to the Ministry of Tourism, Industry, and Commerce. Mrs. Archer, once again, thank you so much for joining us. It's the top of the hour, 7 o'clock tonight here in studio on 99.7 FM. You're listening to the Women Empowerment Program. Stay tuned. We've got our second segment coming up, and we've got our guests here already to continue informing, elevating, empowering. We've got so much information for you tonight. So stay tuned while we take a short music break. We're coming back.
In the conceptualization of this program? Well, I thought, what prevents women from accessing all the programs that existed? It was one, the lack of confidence, and two, they felt that if they didn't have the academic requirement, these opportunities were not there for them. And I wanted to say to them very clearly, whether you were a teenager in your late teens, leaving school, and you're not quite sure what you wanted to do, or maybe you didn't quite get the requisite grades to get you into a job that you wanted or into an academic program that you wanted to participate in, or maybe you were in your later years and you missed out on the opportunity of formal education. Maybe you left school. Would it have been the end of the world for you? The answer was WIN. So all of the prerequisites, all of the criteria for acceptance were removed. So it does not require anything. All you have to do is apply. The application process is simple. We place emphasis on those women or girls who are unemployed, who live in particularly vulnerable situations, and who have a desire to move from dependent states into independent states. And also, removing that was just one. I also spent time with my team looking at the areas in our country where women can easily find jobs or where they could have started their own businesses. So in other words, developing niche areas and in many times unconventional areas and not areas where women would have predominated. So we started with the professional care courses. We also did garment construction, graphic design, television and video production, to name a few of the courses. Women seized the opportunity, and I'm happy to say at the end of 2021, 2,000 plus women were empowered through WIN at no cost to themselves. Their only investment would have been their time. And what was that time? It did not exceed 4 weeks. And how could they have done this program? Well, making it very simple for them. If there were enough women in the community, we went to those communities. If there were women who wanted to do this course online, we offer those courses online. So women across the entire country benefited from WIN at the first get-go. And the intention was not to just train women, but to look well beyond that. So certification, accreditation, those were things that were important to me in terms of what we were going to offer women. So every certificate came with a UWI or University of West Indies behind it, or the UK ABMA program behind it. So in 2021, those 2,000 women had those certificates, but we didn't want to stop there. I didn't want to stop there. And so we looked at how we could further empower those women, how we can take them from the point of training into actual earners. So the Female Business Incubator was born, and that's housed at the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute, which is considered the home of WIN. And
to the Women Empowerment Program. Big shouts out to Martina, Ramona. I love you guys. So great questions.
Good evening. You are listening to the Women Empowerment Program with your hosts, Martina Johnson and Ramona Luthi. We're now here for our second segment of the program with our guest. And tonight we are joined by two officials from the Men on Mission Group. I say Men on Mission Group, but it's actually the Men on Mission National Committee. So we want to invite you. They've been
trending lately.
Man, they've been doing so much. But here, tell a neighbor, tell a friend that you are tuned into EduFM and encourage them to listen and join the conversation on 99.7 FM in Georgetown and Anai, and 89.9 in Ituni, Maruka, and Port Kaituma. And you can also get us on 98.9 in New Amsterdam and 99.9 everywhere else. And this is 99.9 FM. You can also join our conversation on WhatsApp and message us on 600-8343. And you can even join us on the World Wide Web at our website, www.edu.fm. So our guests in studio this evening, we have Captain Kivion Lewis. He is the aide-de-camp to Brigadier Godfrey Best and the Assistant Secretary for the Men on Mission National Committee. He is also the Public Relations Committee member and a mentor for MOM, Men on Mission. And we also have in studio the Second Lieutenant Godfrey Best Jr., and he's a principal auditor. He works at the Guyana Revenue Authority in the Petroleum Revenue Department. I know your boss. Gentlemen, welcome to the Women Empowerment Program. Please greet our listeners.
Good evening, all. Thank you so much for the invitation, Ms. Johnson. I would like to say a pleasant good night to to all of our listeners, and on behalf of the Chief of Staff, we are most grateful for this opportunity to apprise the Guyanese public of what the Men on Mission initiative is and what we are set forth to do.
All right, Mr. Bess.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure being here tonight, and we have a lot in store for you guys.
All right. So before we start asking you questions, let's just lay the foundation and let people know
What
what
is
the
Men on
MOM
Mission?
mom. Because you know what? I'm
I
gonna
mean,
say
it's ironic,
MOM
right?
because when I say mom, people might think that I'm talking about a mother.
And then we're on the Women Empowerment Program.
Yes.
So
So the MOM, the Men on Mission, is a the Men on Mission 1,000 Men initiative was launched in October 2002. This is the part of the President Irfan Ali's, I said Dr. Irfan Ali's, One Guyana Vision, and this, of course, his brainchild initiative aims to provide a brighter future for young Guyanese, and it strives to offer men and boys much needed mentorship and direction. Since its launch, the MOM National Committee has been making the news with its community outreach programs. So what are some of those programs? Region 5 men were called upon to fight toxic masculinity. That was a news story a few months ago. Men were also urged to lead by example, take the reins and lead with good examples. Region 8 men were urged to take on responsibilities and to do the best that they can. Men in Region 10 were urged to be strong and to take a unified approach towards the future. And when I talk about men being urged and encouraged to do things, there were many activities, lectures, interactions, community meetings, addresses where these things occurred. President Irfan Ali was also one of the MOM men who worked to help rebuild the home for an elderly woman. And the Men on Mission also launched the Home with Dad event, which was Stay Home with Dad this Sunday. Well, not this Sunday.
Oh, yes.
But a Sunday, a couple of Sundays ago.
The last Sunday in January.
January 29th.
Yes. And then there was also the Men on Mission joining hands to enhance Steve Reisler's community ground. And just recently, you fed 500 women. Vulnerable.
For
I'm
women-
vulnerable. Nobody fed
Women
me.
Empower- Okay.
Just being a woman is a minority. Nobody fed me.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, this is impressive work, gentlemen.
is,
And we
it
must
is.
say
Hats off
congratulations.
to you.
Yeah, being committee members. Right off the bat, we want you to tell us who are the managers and auditors behind the Men on Mission group. So who's going to take this? All right.
You will speak on the manager aspect, and I will speak on
So we're hearing the
auditor.
voice of... Go ahead.
Good evening once again. So, first, permit me once more to express the gratitude on behalf of the Chief of Staff for this invitation to be a part of the program.
And he's listening.
Well, this question is a two-part question. I'll answer the first part. There are no... Within the Men on Mission initiative, we do not use the term managers, but rather we identify our leaders within the Men on Mission body as committee, either committee chairperson or the chairman. I'll further explain. There exists the National Committee, which is headed by His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali, while the Chief of Staff is the committee chairman. This committee has three arms. The governmental arm, comprising of ministers Ramson, Dharmalal, McCoy, and Indar. There's secondly the joint services arm, which comprises of the Chief of Staff, the Commissioner of Police, the Fire Chief, as well as the Director of Prisons. And then, last but definitely not least, the civil society / private sector arm, which comprises of notably Mr. Paul Chung, as well as religious leaders, leader of the National Tushao, and these various arms make up the National Committee. Now, the second aspect of the question, I'll permit Mr. Godfrey Best to answer.
Okay, so we don't have specifically one specific auditor. We have an audit committee, as the Chief of Staff highlighted yesterday, which consists of finance professionals, which are part of the Men of Mission body. So basically, our role is to play an oversight role to ensure that there is transparency, accountability and fairness right out throughout these projects. We have a lot of important stakeholders. We know public funds is involved, so we give assurance to our stakeholders, which is the citizens of Guyana, the government, and private donors, that there is transparency, accountability, and fairness throughout all projects.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
just to
Captain
shed
Lewis.
some additional light. So, stemming from the National Committee, we have several subcommittees, which aptly the acronym spells SHAPES.
All right.
SHAPES.
I'm going to make a note of this one because this is inside information.
So, this acronym that spells SHAPES, that is aiming to do exactly what it says, shape and mold the minds and reshape the minds of men and help to shape the minds of young boys and men. So, SHAPE stands for Strategic Committee, the Health Committee, the Administration, Business and Employment, which encompasses the Finance and Auditing Committees, as mentioned by Mr. Bess. We have the Education and Training Committee, and finally the Sports Committee.
So what's the P again?
Planning and Marketing.
Okay. All right. See, I'm writing, so I missed that one. You didn't give me that one. Planning and
My
marketing.
apologies.
All right. And what's the S for the
Sports.
Sport. Whoa.
Sports.
I
Can't
like
leave
that.
out the physical activity.
Yes.
We cannot.
Very important.
Correct.
Yes, that's good. But go ahead. You wanted to add something?
No, that is about it.
All right. So you talk about the National Committee and then the subcommittee. The National Committee being the Men on Mission Committee, MOM, and then the SHAPES committees. How many members do you have in addition
Overall?
to your committee members? How many members do you have?
There has been overwhelming support from
It was supposed to be 1,000-man initiative. So have
So-
you passed that?
if I'm to shed the light on that, we have blew past that light years ago. The two, because persons seem to confuse the two a bit. The 1,000 Men initiative is what drives the Men on Mission. The president highlighted that he wants 1,000 prominent men of society to take up the role of mentoring and guiding young men. So these 1,000 men now become our mentors on the Men on Mission initiative. So as mentioned, there has been overwhelming support from like-minded men and organizations. So at present, we don't have a label attached to them as members. However, persons that are interested in participating in this initiative, they can participate under the title of mentor, mentee, or volunteer.
Okay, we're going to come to that. So, but do you have an idea of you doing all this work in the people that you interacted? Do you have an idea of what the membership, I say membership, the volunteers, the support team, you have an idea what that number looks like?
At present, we're currently working on collecting those figures because it's branched off into every region. In every region, there's a Men on Mission committee or regional committee. Correct. So
Our numbers are growing.
we're working on collecting those numbers, but I can guarantee you that the number of mentors, as highlighted by the president, that we hoped was 1,000, we have passed that.
So
Well-
how can somebody become a part of the MOM group?
Good question, because you say you've exceeded the numbers and you have mentors, mentees, and volunteer groups, and you're in each administrative region. You already got committees in each administrative region. So some people might say it sounds like you have enough, but then there are other people who want to join and give their support, their voice. How can they join? And how do you decide who is going to be a mentee, a mentor, or a volunteer? Is it I just come and say, I want to be a mentor, and it's like that?
So there is a form that you can fill online. I can WhatsApp it to you and we can make it public. It has
Where
been made.
where do we find it online?
It has been made public on the Men on Mission Facebook
Good.
page.
But you remember your listeners don't know this, be talking to them, y'all listening, y'all write this down. So the Men on Mission Facebook page
You can
is Men on Mission,
yes.
MENONMISSION
Remember the space, right?
on Facebook. 3 words. Men on Mission on Facebook. You could go there. You can find the form to register to serve the committee. Well, the national
So
group.
you said prominent men are the mentors. How do you determine?
Prominent men were meant to be the
Initially.
mentors. So we know that our country is very diverse culturally, as well as the geographics of it. So one might say in Georgetown, prominent man might be a doctor or a lawyer, but what about in Region 9 or Region 8?
Where he's a fisherman or a gold
Correct.
miner.
So that right there was the intention. So when we define prominence, we're not referring solely to your social class or your job. We are referring to what you do and what you contribute to society.
And your
Understood.
level of influence.
Correct.
Yeah. So again,
With Martina's question.
you go ahead.
Yeah, how do you okay, you set up the form, you fill out the form. What is the process exactly?
So after the form is filled, or for the persons that don't have access to the internet, for whatever reason, you can approach your NDC or your RDC indicating your interest.
Okay.
So after this is done, then the forms are scrutinized by our teams, judging people for suitability as mentors based on the background information provided, after which they are subjected to mentorship training.
Lovely.
They're subjected to mentorship training.
How long is the training process?
At present, the training syllabus is still being mounted, so it's very much alive.
Okay.
At present, it's about a week.
Okay.
It's about a week of various sessions that range from emotional intelligence to psychology to counseling. The intention is not to bully a boy or a man to a better way of thinking. The intention is to show him that he can reach there by himself.
Coercion.
Educate him enough.
Educates him enough.
And
Yes.
he can reach there.
It sounds
by
like the
himself.
cadet course, 99718. That was my husband.
Wow. So, yes.
Reshaping the thinking.
Reshaping the thinking. So the mentors are trained along that area.
And who trains them?
They're trained by personnel from the joint services, as well as members of the private sector.
Okay, professionals in their own right.
Professionals in
All
their
right, I
profession.
understand that. And you've answered the question, how does somebody become part of the mom group?
I would just like to reiterate, for persons that, for whatever reason, cannot access the form or are not capable, don't have the apparatus, please approach your NDC, approach your RDC, and express your interests. We are not rejecting anyone. As long as you fit the criteria to be a mentor, you will be considered. And if you approach as a mentee, you are on.
It's automatic,
questions
no
asked.
questions,
Zero
all
questions
right.
asked, because that demonstrates to us that you have the very first step that we're looking for, and that is the step of self-awareness, to know that I need help, I need guidance to get where I want to go, to come out of where I am.
Does the Men on Mission plans to venture into dealing with issues like drug addicts and homelessness? Because I see a lot of men on the streets.
You wanna-
Yes, we are looking at that. Even there's a plan for us to build in like homes and shelters for. Yeah, there's even a plan for us in the long term to build homes and shelters for like destitutes and so on. Also looking to have a rehab center for drug addicts. So yeah, that's in the long term plan.
All right, we can come to the long-term plan just now. Ramona's got another question for you.
Yeah, how would you describe the support that the MOM group has been receiving so far? And is it the same in all the regions, like whether it's overwhelming or underwhelming?
If I were to use one word to describe the support, I would say hopeful. The support shows me as a young Guyanese man that there are persons out there that want to do good, that want to contribute. When this initiative was launched in October, between the period of October and December, so much was done. We are in March, and between then and now, even more has been accomplished. And
Yeah, you guys have been trending.
a great majority of it comes from the support of our Guyanese brothers and sisters.
I like, you see, he says brothers and sisters because a lot of times we have conversations about the issues of gender and we isolate men and then we put women in
Yeah.
another bracket. And so how are you working? I know you did the Feed the 500 in the communities with women. How are you working to ensure that while you're trying to address issues with men,
Women
that
can
you're
sideline.
also identifying and addressing from the perspective of a woman as well?
Well, I'm not too sure if you recall, Ms. Johnson, at the national launch, the president highlighted why the acronym of MOM was chosen. You recall?
I remember him talking about it and the support of women and mothers and aunties, and I can't remember all of it.
He said that if a man is to, I'm quoting very loosely, is to,
I
is
didn't want to try.
is to take up his role the way a mother, a single mother takes up hers, our society would be in a better place.
I think he mentioned something about aunts as well.
Oh, I won't debate you on
I
that.
was looking at it live and I was distracted, but I remember it and I was like, when he's talking about mom and women, and I said, you know, this is good. I like the vision and I like the direction. If it's going to take the direction of what he spoke about, I like that.
So from its inception, it was meant to create that unison, not to work in isolation. However, to provide to men, to young boys, the necessary attention and guidance that they desperately need. I say desperately because as a woman or as a girl, if you're facing certain issues, if you're dealing with certain things, you can go around a corner and you can see Auntie Jane, you can see big cousin, you can see your sister, you'll see a lot of women. You go in the salon, you ask them something, I'm dealing with this, my boyfriend is doing this, my husband is doing that, etc. And you'll get advice. Might not be good, but you'll get
I was
advice.
thinking that.
But you'll get advice.
Yeah.
As men, we don't have that circle. We don't have that.
Or
whereby
if you have
I've
it,
heard
it's
that
a
a
much
lot.
smaller circle.
It's a dot.
Okay.
Yeah, and
If
even
you
then
have
you
it,
judge
it's a
to some
dot.
extent.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because of the mask of masculinity that society
The
placed on
stereotype.
us.
Yeah.
That we should not express emotions, we should hold things back, we should not communicate. And these are the things that have led us into a great portion of our men into isolation. It was highlighted by the Chief of Staff in his initial address that we have lost a generation of men due to that fact. That men were not in touch with who they are or what they were meant to do.
Well, that brings me to another question before we go to this break at 7:30. If I walk in, I'm a man and I walk in and I want to be a mentee. I say this is my issue. What's the process of, you know, handling someone coming in as a mentee?
As mentioned before, documentation is the first step. Background checks are what are done next. After the initial issue has been addressed of why the person thinks they need that guidance, we try our best to pair them with a suitable mentor.
Good.
That can prove to be difficult because sometimes a person may be lacking in the area of financial management. And where he is or his geographic location, there are not a lot of mentors with that specialty. So now there's logistics involved in getting a mentor to him or getting him to a mentor. Yes, you'll have virtual sessions. You can have virtual sessions, but I think
Face-to-face
it's
has more of an
evident
impact. Yep.
that we have more impact and more interactions when it's face-to-face.
I told someone that today when they called me and they said the finance and events planning committee is going to meet on Mondays at so and so time and it's virtual. I'm like, I like virtual meetings for the convenience. You know, you could be at home, But I find that I'm
Face-to-face is
distracted
better, yeah.
because, I mean, I'm having a conversation with you, I'm washing a baby bottle, or my daughter
Yeah.
comes, and it's different distractions, and I don't get the full attention of the person, or they don't get my full attention. I was, in fact, washing a baby bottle for that session. But I say that to say that in this instance where somebody's reaching out for help on a serious issue, they want your 100% commitment for conversation and guidance and
Correct.
supervision. So how do you go about dealing with the logistics issues? Do you provide transportation for them to go?
At present, it's still a work in progress.
You know,
It's
the
still a
GDF
work
got
in
helicopters, you can fly them in, right?
One at a time, one at a time.
It's still a work in progress.
And you have a lot of government vehicles. Well, I'm glad that it is something that is considered and you're looking to address it. I also know that when we talk about the communities, the far-flung communities in the far distant areas, I say far-flung, some people might not understand. The communities that are far out of reach, some communities they've got like 250 people. Some people might say it's not worth it going into those communities, particularly Amerindian communities. How are you working with those groups?
As mentioned, a part of the National Committee is the leader of the National Tushao. And it is through him, through that collaborative effort, that we are now working to have more Amerindian mentors within those communities.
Because they're a very close-knit community,
Correct.
and to
So
get in and break
to
those
bring a
walls,
foreigner into that community.
they call, yes, to bring somebody from out of the
Basically an
community
outsider.
into it. Coastlanders.
They'll feel infiltrated.
Coastlanders, that's
So
what they
we're
call.
working towards building that capacity within the Amerindian community as well, so as that that cohesion and that level of comfort could be maintained between the mentee and the mentor.
Do you have female mentors by any chance?
At present,
Uh-huh.
no, we do not.
Okay.
At
You're
present.
staying true to.
Something maybe we can look at.
Yeah, definitely something we can look at.
And do you offer like education enhancement courses? Let's say somebody just wants to be better at communicating.
Well,
Any of those?
Later on in the year, we have some training program plan. So yeah, that will be part of it, like teaching people skills, different skill sets, and so on. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah,
You can
so
come to us if you need ideas.
those are things we are looking at.
It's just men. All right, so it's now 7:30 here in studio at 99.7 FM. You're listening to the Women Empowerment Program. We're going to take a quick break and come back to you with more information to inform, elevate, empower, and educate you, our listeners. Stay tuned.
Certification, accreditation, those were things that were important to me in terms of what we were going to offer women. So every certificate came with a UWI or University of West Indies behind it, or the UK ABMA program behind it. So in 2021, those 2,000 women had those certificates, but we didn't want to stop there. I didn't want to stop there. And so we looked at how we could further empower those women, how we can take them from the point of training into actual earners. So the Female Business Incubator was born, and that's housed at the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute, which is considered the home of WIN. And that institute also benefited from major rehabilitation, where girls and women could have used a brand new computer lab, have access to classroom space, and also access to persons who could have helped them to develop a business plan and a business model. There came the Win in Business clinics. And that even went further than the WIN students, and those clinics were offered to women in all of the regions. Those clinics put in those women's hands the ability to write business plans, the ability to register their business, the ability to be in contact with the Women Chamber of Commerce, in contact with NIS, GRA, the banks, all the people that they would need on their journey to becoming successful entrepreneurs. And in 2023, with all of that happening, we saw over 4,000 women benefiting from the WIN program. And this means in 2023, we're hoping to exceed our target of 6,000 women. And so the WIN program continues to grow. We continue to offer it free of cost. We continue to add on to the programs that exist. For example, the child care program now has 2 additional levels where women are taught to care for children with special needs and also the fundamentals of early childhood development. You're probably wondering where that leads them. Well, we are encouraging them to develop consortiums, groups of women who can come together and start their own day-night care and early childhood centers. And that does not mean that we are leaving them on their own to start those things. We will be there to provide the technical assistance. We will be there to provide subsidies to those parents who utilize their centers once their centers are registered and licensed with us. Right away, you can see there is opportunity. There is a conclusion that takes a woman from her home into the world of work and allows her to gain financial independence. Many of the courses also provide for women to work from the comfort of their home. If they want to do garment construction, all of the things that they will be trained in will allow them to make from school uniforms or to move into the realm of fashion design. In fact, that's one of the courses that we will be working on this year, along with interior design and decor. I have also believed that many times we need to step out of the box. We need to be creative in what we're offering. So many of the programs are unconventional. When we started to offer graphic design, women quickly realized that this was something that was in high demand. Not only could they work from home, but they could freelance, which means they were not stuck in one job, but they had the opportunity to be creative and also gain experience at the same time. So many women are excelling in graphic design today.
89.9, my voice is going again. 89.9 FM in Ituni, Maruka, and Port Kaituma. 98.9 FM in New Amsterdam, and 99.9 FM everywhere else. Remember, you can join our conversation on WhatsApp. Just WhatsApp us on 600-8343. That's 600-8343. And you can even join us in the World Wide Web at edu.fm. If you can also see us live on Facebook, on our Facebook page at edufm. We're in studio. We have our guests, Captain Kevion Lewis and Second Lieutenant Godfrey Best Jr., who is the principal auditor. And we've been discussing the work of the Men on Mission group, the brainchild of President Dr. Irfan Ali. So guys, thank you so much for all the information you've provided so far. We have more questions to go because we're very curious in here, okay? So can you tell us what are some of the community initiatives and activities you have planned for the budgeted allocation, the amount that was allocated in 2023, in the national budget? Tell us.
Well, as announced by the Chief of Staff yesterday at the press conference, this year's activities will focus on 5 areas. I'll focus on 2 of those areas that speak directly to our community involvement or community activities.
And you list the other 3?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because we don't want to be left with just 2 out of 5.
I'll gladly list the other 3.
Go ahead.
So the first would be male behavior change through character building. Under this particular focus area, you can expect to see boys camp in August during the school vacation. Mm-hmm. Community and national-wide event called Stages of Hope, where it is meant to create a safe space for men and boys to come and display their talents within the various communities and at the national level, and express concerns on issues that we face in collective and safe forums while being spoken to by influential personalities from the entertainment sector, the sports sector, religious sector, etc. Additionally, community projects within selected communities that will target actively engaging young men and boys of that community and demonstrating to them how they can earn while contributing to the development of our beautiful Guyana. Some of these small community projects I'm referring to would be, for example, setting up a shade house in a community, setting up
For anybody, because I need a shade house.
It's meant, that shade house goes there and it's meant to serve as a magnet to then pull in all those boys and men that you see on the corner that looks as though they have nothing much to do. Give them something to do. Let's say a block building facility is established. They are then trained on how to make blocks. They then make the blocks, and these blocks are then sold to the various construction sites that we have all around Guyana. So immediately they get to earn, and what they're doing with their hands directly contributes to the building of Guyana.
Okay, someone is asking a question here. If when you're doing the camp and other activities, if you're having partnerships with Scouts associations.
That is a possibility. Thank you so much for highlighting that, or rather requesting that. But we are seeking partnership with many NGOs. So I'm certain that Scouts will be one of them.
Okay. I hope that person is still listening. So Scouts is one of those that could possibly be partnered with for these activities. Yes, continue.
The other
Number
focus area, number 2, that deals specifically with the community would be the environmental transformation that is meant to occur along the Premier East Bank corridor, more specifically from the airport to Suez Lake Junction, that deals with beautifying that specific stretch so that as persons enter our beautiful Guyana, they can see all the wonderful colors that we have.
All right.
And
the other three
areas, which I'm going to get to,
I'm not going to let you go.
Speak to health, capacity building for emergency relief efforts, and as Mr. Best mentioned earlier, rehabilitation.
So, Mr. Best, you're going to be part of the rehabilitation exercise because you're dealing with the money, the auditing, and so, but...
Wow, just throw him there.
I plan to play a major role in that, of course.
Okay, because we don't want you to be silent in here. We want to hear from you, too. So, that takes us to the next question. In terms of, prior to getting a budgetary allocation for 2023, knowing that the MOM National Committee was launched in October 29th, right?
Yes, I think it's that.
October 29, 2022. Where did you get your budgetary allocations to do all those projects you were doing? Like, was it donations? Like, how was it happening?
Basically, for last year, no budgeted allocation was allocated for the Men on Mission. It was mostly private sector. The private sector contributed 100% to all the projects that was done in 2022. So it was mainly donations from private donors.
You know how much money it was? Or what they donated? Like, what are some of the things people donated?
So
you don't have to say some if you don't know. But what are some of the things people...
As highlighted, I will reference a press conference again. Forgive me. I was there. Hear
what I'm going to ask you to do. Stop referring to the press conference because our listeners don't know what you're talking about. Some of them wouldn't know. So you can just tell us. Like,
if you don't know, you can catch the press
tell them
conference
where to find it.
on NCN.
Yes,
and
it's
it
on
will
Facebook.
Also be on the Facebook page.
And DPI.
Correct.
Yes.
Perfect.
I looked at it 3 times yesterday.
When it comes to donations, or when it comes to what happened in 2022 as it regards to the projects that were done, it was very decentralized. At a regional level, it was very decentralized. And while persons made their contributions, the contributions were not annotated, nor did they go through a structure.
Okay.
Meaning, okay, I have 2 truckloads of sand. I'm going to now inform the regional chairman that I'm donating these 2 truckloads of sand.
They just came
towards
and
the
they
co-
give you the sand. They just put the
Correct.
sand there like, y'all
Correct.
take that. Y'all want more? Come and get more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they come out, okay, we need some more portions. They go get some more portions. None of these things were factored into, they were calculated. So to give that figure, yeah, it would be very difficult for auditing team.
Okay. So what are some of the things like you got? We're not
There's-
talking about money here, but like people's time, who came and
Yes,
did what,
yes.
materials that they give, and what were some of the activities you were able to do with those support?
Like for instance, we build a house, like somebody own a lumber yard in the private sector would donate some wood. Even we ourselves went out ourselves and help like break down whole houses to build new houses. So yeah, basically we as part of the national committee, if you would have noticed, sometime last year, I think the president had a live on Facebook. He and a group of men went and actually broke down a whole house. And
Yeah, I
built a
saw
new house.
that
The
one on
president
social
himself played
media.
a part of that. And we as part of the Men on Mission National Committee, we also volunteer our time.
So we've been talking a lot about money and funds being invested. What structure is in place to ensure accountability?
Well, so we have a finance committee, consists of professional accountants or people in the accounting field. And this finance committee is mandated to follow general accounting accepted standards. And also, since public funds is involved, they have to follow the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act. And with that finance committee, like I mentioned earlier, we have the audit committee, who is the oversight body. We are to ensure that there's transparency, accountability, and fairness, and also to ensure that they're following the general accounting accepted principles and the FMA Act.
So transparency to whom? Is it you're going to have your reports made public as well, or is it just going to be transparency to like an NGO group, oversight body, or GRA?
Well, our main stakeholders is the government, because we get the money from the government, so we got to show transparency towards them. Also, the citizens of Ghana, they are one of our stakeholders also. So basically our main stakeholders is to the government. So basically giving the government assurance and the public and whole assurance that there's proper oversight and transparency when it comes to.
So I want to ask y'all about these 150 homes that y'all say y'all going to build. What's the process of building? Well, not process of building, but how do you identify the people? Is there a committee? Who's going to decide who gets the two-story house or who gets the 5-bedroom house? That sort of thing. Just to ensure there's equity and to ensure there's fairness and transparency.
Well, as mentioned earlier, the initial projects that you saw reference providing housing, it was very destructuralized.
Okay.
It did not pass through the established structure that is there now or that is being fine-tuned. So reference the 150 homes. Thus far, in excess of 45 homes were already built of those. Yes. And
Nice.
And we are
And that
still
didn't get pressed, like.
and we are still building more. Now, when it comes to who gets what, every situation is different and unique in its own way. And as the National Committee, we take that into consideration. When it comes to providing homes for vulnerable brothers and sisters, the application or rather requests could be sent to the Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, the Commissioner of Police, or your regional chairman.
Applications could make through the RDCs and the NDCs also.
Is the MOM going to set up an online portal, for example, if you wanna? make an application through there?
Yes, there will be an online portal as well as a questionnaire that can be filled out online. But once again, catering for those that don't have access to the internet or may not be as
Tech
versed,
savvy to get it done?
they can resort to simply submitting their application. There will be a published and very clear guideline of what this application should entail.
Okay. What information and facts you need to bring to us
Correct.
to qualify, and then you'll inform them what's the vetting process or criteria, etc. What impact do you think the Men on Mission would have had on the community across Guyana since its launch and the activities you've been doing?
This question is quite complex, even though it appears simple. There has not been sufficient time to say definitively that impact is there at the level that you're asking about. However, the communities we have had active engagements in have had a reduced amount of boys on the corners. The persons that have been able to acquire employment as a result of our seminars or career/job fairs have had positive feedback. But these are mere drops in the ocean of change that can only create ripples, which we're perfectly happy to accept at this point in time. But we're really aiming for that tidal wave. And when we get it, we can tell you the impact has been incredible.
I have not seen for a while. I don't know if you noticed this, Ramona, but last year there were a lot of young men and girls too and boys would run up to your vehicles and wipe your windshield or wash your windshield.
Oh my god, it still happens.
But I don't see them, and I'm driving
Constantly,
every
it's
day.
so
Like
annoying.
it's very. Are you part of it? Is that part of your mission, getting those children off the streets too? Is that
It
something
should
that
be.
you've been working on? Because I don't see them like I used to see them before. The
No, I
numbers
still
have
see them quite a
dwindled.
lot, and some of them are extremely persistent.
Well, whenever we have a job fair, is advertised, and some people turn up at the job fair, and they get a job, they get hired on the spot. When we
Okay.
had the launching of the Men on Mission, there are also some booths with some employers, some construction companies, and people who would have attended the launch and were unemployed. Some of them was hired on the spot. So, the information is out there. We advertise what is going on, and once these people come to these events and they're actually willing to work, they can be hired on the spot.
One question I didn't ask, but you guys have been mentioning men and boys. Is there an age range for who can be a mentor, mentee? If there is, what is the range?
At present, the age range of both mentor and mentee would be just in between teenage and young adult, all the way up to being alive.
Pensioner.
All the way up to being alive. Because
Theory.
I could understand how you say that.
Sometimes a 30-year-old could be a mentee
correct.
or a mentor.
We
Or you
tend
can
to-
have somebody
we
like
tend
Kit
to-
Nascimento as a mentor, and
based on their
he's
experience and their
been
skill
around.
set.
So we've noticed that there are young persons with a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and God-given insight that can actually provide genuine guidance. Meanwhile, there are some persons that are a bit up there in age that still need that guidance.
Sometimes a younger
That's
person
true.
could mentor an older person based on, their past experience and so on. So there's no fixed age range. A
okay.
mentor and mentee.
I'm just here thinking if somebody is 90, like
It needs to be a mentee or a mentor.
I don't see that happening, man.
either one of the two. But one of the things that's important, you have a lot of disabled people and people with special needs within the homes. Is that part of your community project and services that you're going to be working on? Is that one of the things that you got planned for 2023.
These persons fit into our category of vulnerable brothers and sisters. Persons with disabilities, they fit into that category, and we do have activities planned and prepared for them.
Is there a fee to join the Men on Mission?
No, it's actually free.
There is
Okay.
no fee.
Somebody asked me
Just-
that, right? And I'm
just
like,
a
I'm going to
willing-
ask that
Just a
tonight.
It's a
Should know,
willing
yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
It's a willing
So it's a
heart.
willing heart. You come and you be part of it. If you want to join, you can sign up on the Facebook page, Men on Mission Facebook page, or you can go to your NDC, which is your National Democratic Council,
Neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Neighborhood Democratic Council, or you could go to the RDC, which is your Regional Democratic Council, and you can ask to apply. You can go to your Tushao,
Yes.
and there's no fee. You don't have to pay $200 for the form, anything like that. It's free. So let me just remind you who we're talking to in studio today. We have from the Men on Mission National Committee, we have Captain Kivion Lewis and his colleague, Second Lieutenant Godfrey Best. You know, I always look at this word lieutenant and I'm like, there's no F, there's no PH. Anyway, that's another conversation. So in terms of your meetings, how often is there like a general meeting for the National Committee and then they decide the subcommittees in the different regions are going to meet? How does it work?
Well, the subcommittees, the regional committees, they have that flexibility to set their meetings according to their schedules.
Okay.
To set their meetings according to their schedules or as directed by higher authorities. When it comes to the national committee, we try to meet as often as we can. There is no fixed time. However, when we do meet, it's meant for reports from each subcommittee, highlighting work that has been done, work that is currently under revision, and plan of action for future activities.
So how do you measure success?
At
Monitoring and evaluation. I was just going to ask him that. What was in place to monitor
Yeah.
and evaluate the impact?
Well, currently, we are monitoring evaluation. So the plan is will be a collaborative effort between Men on Mission team, the Bureau of Statistics, Ministry of Finance, and even the Ministry of Public Works.
and Ministry of Labor.
Yeah, Ministry of Labor also. As you know, some public firms are involved to engineer this project, so it's important to do monitoring and evaluation. The Bureau of Statistics, which is mandated to have data for performance indicators,
Mhm.
we'll be collaborating with them on the monitoring aspect. And on the evaluation aspect, the Ministry of Finance have a M&E unit, also the Ministry of Public Works have an M&E unit,
Okay.
which will be using
The M&E
to-
unit, meaning monitoring evaluation.
monitoring
unit.
evaluation. So
Mhm.
we'll be collaborating with these units to systematically look at it systematically, objective, and assess our projects and so on.
So right now we have men who are tuned into the program and they're listening, and most of them seem not to be a part of MOM. So what bit of advice would you give to them if they would want to join, or how would you encourage them to join?
This is your opportunity. Make your pitch.
Well, guys, boys, young men, one of my favorite quotes says that you're always one decision away from a totally different life. And the decisions we make, they're oftentimes based on the knowledge that we have surrounding the decision. And sadly, most of us do not have adequate knowledge to make informed decisions. And it is not your fault. It is not your fault. This initiative allows you, whether as a mentee or a mentor, as a mentor, it gives you a network of capable professionals that you can call on for assistance in various capacities. As a mentee, it gives you that person that's right behind you saying, okay, Travis, go left. Okay, Travis, go right. Consider this. Don't take this action. Okay, you and her, you're not getting along. Try communicating. Try counseling. Try other methods of conflict resolution. Don't resort to what you saw. What you saw was a warning. It wasn't an example to follow. Being a part of this initiative permits you to prevent boys from following in the same mistakes that you did, and it also permits you to create a better future for yourself, your loved ones, and Guyana.
Excellent pitch. Now, if I were a man, I'd be joining Mom tonight. Like, I'd be on Facebook looking for that form to sign it up. Leslie, remember we talked about this, right? This is my husband. I'm just reminding you, we've got to get you into Mom. Gentlemen, we want to thank you as we approach the top of the hour to bring this program to a close this evening. It was wonderful having you. It was a really wonderful, enlightening conversation. And I
learned a
see
lot.
all the likes and the shares and everything it's blowing up on Facebook. So I know the men out there want to have this conversation and want to know more about opportunities for them as well. So thank you once again. And as we were discussing off here, I'm going to throw this out. We can have updates from you as often as possible and probably get to your own show. Brigadier Bess, this one is for you. If we can get MOM to have a program here on Edu FM, that would be a delight. All right, gentlemen, we want to thank you once again. And our listeners, thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for the comments on Facebook. Thank you for comments in our inboxes and our WhatsApp. We are going to continue to bring information to you to do the 3 E's: educate, elevate, and empower you, our listeners. We're here to serve you at 99.7 FM, Edu FM. I'm Martina Johnson signing off. In studio here, we have Captain Lewis and the Second Lieutenant Bess. I was going to say Brigadier Bess. Second Lieutenant Bess, and of course, my co-host. It's going to happen. I just spoke that into
She got
life.
black tongue.
It's going to happen. I do.
She got black tongue.
And Ramona Lucy, my co-host. Thank you so much. Ramona, anybody
you
want
so
to say
much.
good night to anybody? Quickly. You got 2 minutes to wrap up.
I just want to say good night to my wife, who I'm certain is listening, Mrs. Tanisha Lewis.
All right.
You better. Yes.
I'd like to say good night to my family and also my wife to be who's listening.
All
All
right.
right. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is goodbye until next week, Tuesday, when we're going to be bringing you. I don't want to say bigger, better things, but we're going to be educating you as per normal. All right.
We'll continue the education process. Good night. See you Tuesday.